Hello everyone, my name is Cute Little Angel, and today I'm bringing you Marina from Splatoon 2. And, as you can probably already figure, we have a mic now for the channel! Yay! I'm so excited for this. I can't wait to talk to you guys about a variety of things, such as either the process I took for the art piece, other art related topics, other things I do have planned, or anything you guys want to talk about. I'm really excited for this, but I'm also really nervous. Talking has never been one of my strongest suits. So I hope with time, I get the hang of it, and I hope until then, you guys are patient with me, as you know, we get through this together, and we learn together. But without further ado, let's talk about the piece at hand. I finally got to draw Marina! I've been dying to draw her ever since she first debuted. I love her. I, just like the rest of the internet, fell in love with her at first sight. She has such a wonderful design, she was really fun to draw, and I just wanted to show all my love for her in an art piece. And because of that, I really put a lot of passion and work and love into this piece. I pulled out the Zion doll for the pose. It's an art application I like to use from time to time. If I want a particular pose and I can't find a good reference for it elsewhere. It's really good, it's free, it's just like a posing doll in real life, but you know, on your computer. I highly recommend it if you need help with posing. But it does have this other feature that allows you to change the proportions of the character and to get other body types, but it's not the best execution wise, so if you have that in mind and you still want it, there's going to be a link for it in the description. But after I finally got all the sketching and refined sketching done, I was able to get to the sketch that I was able to put Marina's actual features over. I decided to go with a realistic human body over her actual Octoling features, such as her tentacle hair, her eyes you'll see later on, and her fingers that are, for some reason, like claws. I was really excited to do this for a while now. I've been wanting to improve my bodies to have more features and details of the muscles, as you know, on our body there's little bumps and curves for where our muscles and bones are. I've been trying to get the hang of drawing those more on my characters as of late, and I think on Marina I got a really good balance of that here. I was really happy with how this came out. I was really excited to get to the actual coloring and all the other stuff. I also had a particular pose in mind for this piece. I wanted her upper body to be leaning forward and her right arm to be a little in front of her as well. I tried to get that idea down in the sketching and the line art, but it wasn't really coming out, in my opinion. So I was hoping that with the coloring, I would be able to sell the pose a bit more. And I hope that in this case, you'll see the poses the way I intended it to be. So when we finally get to the line art, I had a lot of fun with this as well. I am really happy with how it came out, though there was a few problems here and there. I, for some reason, had a lot of blotches where my lines had to reconnect with others. For some reason, I don't know why, this is like the first time that it ever became a prevalent and apparent thing. So I tried to do a lot of one-stroke takes on a lot of these parts. And funny thing about the line art for the body, I actually had to redo it, because for the first time ever since I started speed painting, I forgot to hit record while I was drawing the body, so this is actually my second take going through. This was after I figured out that I didn't want the fingers to have the 3 bone structure that us as humans have. I decided to go with the anime 2 bones instead of the 3. Sometimes I change it up between art pieces depending on how I feel, depending on how I want it at the time. It always changes for, you know, preference. And then when we get to the muscles and the legs, I tried my best to get those little curves where the muscles are. I tried my best to also make the, you know, legs nice, voluptuous, curvy. I really am proud of how the legs came out. I think they're really nice and attractive. I tried my best to make this body as alluring as possible. I wanted to give Marina the best I could give, the best I could offer in a form of my art. I'm really happy with how the body came out. I really wish, if anything, that the pose does come out to you guys as much as it comes out to me as, you know, the artist, the person that is visualizing it the way I was drawing it, you know. With the face, I had a lot of fun. I decided to go with a closed mouth smile instead of her signature shy smirk. I had tried it, but it just wasn't working out in my eyes, so I decided to go with the closed mouth smile for the expression I wanted. And her eyes themselves were probably the easiest thing for me to do, considering I already have big eyelash style. I tried to do the big eyelashes on the bottom as well, but they weren't fitting with how I wanted them to be, so I decided to go with my usual eyes. And for some reason one of them came out a little wider than the other, so I had to go back in and adjust that just a little bit. I need the best for my Marina. I really wanted this to be as perfect as I could make it, so any little details like that I made sure I fixed if I could find it. And then we get to the hair. The hair was a lot of fun. I knew this was going to be the real eye catcher to the piece because her hair and design was just so gorgeous. They really did a good job designing her hair, and I really wanted to give it a lot of love and care on this piece. I studied a lot of videos, a lot of artwork of Marina, and from that I figured out how her back tentacles are actually just a tad shorter than her one side tentacle. So I tried my best to get that apparent in the sketch, in the liner itself. I decided to deviate from the sketch in that case of the back tentacles and give them a little bit more space to be out in the open and more eye-catching instead of just right behind her hiding like little cuties. I didn't really get the impression that I made them a tad shorter than her side tentacle. I probably made them a lot longer in visual perspective, at least. And, you know, that's fine. Maybe it's not the most perfect thing in the world. It's just a tiny little detail, of course. But I do like how I did come out with her tentacles. I did have to go back, of course, and add the underbelly and add the suckers. I had to give it a little bit of life, you know. It couldn't just be one side facing us at all times. It had to be a little dynamic, get a little wiggly on us, of course. I decided not to go with perfect circles for the suckers because I thought it'd be a little bit more interesting if they weren't perfect circles or ovals in this case, so I did them by myself, and I'm really proud of how they came out. I think they're really cute and adorable, and especially in the way I colored them later. And then her design in general, I will keep on complimenting it. It's just a really good design. I'm super happy that her outfit's really cute and close form fitting because, like I mentioned earlier, I've been trying to give my bodies a little bit more curves and muscles and bone structure. So the fact that she had a form-fitting vest on her meant I could give the bosom some attention to detail. I could curve out her vest to fit with the chest. I'm really happy with how it came out. I think it's the best part of the piece, visually wise. Just details like that I really fall in love with whenever I'm drawing. Of course, I had to include her zipper since it's really prevalent on her actual outfit. And I had a lot of fun with this. I decided to go a bit of an extra mile. So for the teeth, instead of just making them like little lines on the zipper line itself, I decided to make them their own individual teeth. I decided to make them curve along with her body, go in different angles, just follow along the line of the curve her body was making the vest do in general. I really enjoyed doing this. It's a lot of fun, just a lot of little details that I just love putting in my artwork. If I'd given myself more time, I probably would have worked harder to make sure the teeth were all the same size, all the same length, and make sure all the spaces in the teeth were just the same size, same length, same distance between each other, etc. It's not like the most perfect thing, obviously. Little details like that aren't the big deal, but you know, I'm a stickler for details. It's my passion as an artist. For the zipper, of course, it was going to be really simple. There's no little intricate details on it. It's just a simple little thing with her eye symbol in the middle. So I decided to give it a little bit of flair and add it that it goes back into itself on the bottom, if you can see that. I thought it was a nice little interesting thing for it. And then we get to Another example of me really loving to put the tiny little muscles and bone structure of the characters and bodies. See that hand? I really am so proud of that hand. It has the knuckles, it has the little muscles on top of your hand. It just came out really well and I'm super proud of it. And then we get to the shorts, which was really hard to do. I knew this was going to be the hardest part considering a lot of little elements and things I had to take into account. So I saved it for last, of course. I knew it was going to be hard because in making Marina a more human body, I knew I had to increase the size of the LED light strips. Instead of her usual 6 on her actual artwork and design, I had to add a little bit more because I didn't think having big strips would be really good looking, in my opinion, if that makes sense. I thought adding more would be more interesting. I thought it would be way easier to try to make it curve with the body. So I added some more instead of just regular 6. I had to roughly sketch out where I wanted the lines to go, and then had to roughly refine sketch over that to get a better idea of where I wanted the lines to go, especially for the bottom of her shorts. I had to get a little bit creative on where I wanted the lines to go. Her shorts kind of end off. They don't really have the little cuffs that hug her legs like this. So I had to get a little creative with this. This was my own little thing to the shorts. It took me a long time to get these shorts done. It wasn't helping at all that my lines just weren't being the best for me with all those little blotches and little odd little messes in the lines that was just really bothering me. I'm a stickler for those tiny little details that nobody else will notice but me because I'm the artist and it's my baby. But I made do with what I did. I knew I couldn't go with single stroke or lines for these because just the fact that these lines for the lights and the stripes were going to be curving in tiny subtle ways. I knew single stroke attempts were going to be kind of futile, so I decided to just deal with what I could and do all the lines as best I could and follow the path as best I could. Obviously, like I sometimes do, I did deviate from the sketch just a bit, especially for the bottom. Just because, when you're working and you get a better idea of what you really want, you change it up a bit just to make sure everything is perfect as you can make it. And that's usually my motto as an artist. I don't stop until everything is as perfect as I can possibly make it. So a lot of trial and error came into the shorts and a lot of time and care. I did my best, and though I really wish there was a better way or a better dot of plan I could have done, I think they're okay. I don't mind them at all. I just wish I had a little bit more time to work on them. And of course, I almost forgot the headphones. I was focusing so much on the hair that I almost forgot the headphones. And then we get to the actual part of the piece that I love to do a lot. The shading. If I can't get the little intricate shapes and curves of the figure, the line art, I try to do that with the shading. So as you see with the face, I decided to get those little indents of our eyes next to the bridge of our nose in for this. And I decided to try to get those little nuances in our face to be a little bit more prevalent this time around. I hope with time I also add to this little system of minds and add a few more features that our skeletons and bodies generally have to make my pieces just a bit more interesting for those tiny little details, And then we get to the chest, which was a lot of fun to do. Something that wasn't just a simple shape to shade in. It was a little bit more complicated and had a little bit more going for it. So I had a lot of fun with this part. I liked doing the little shading in the neck for where the muscles would be, the little space with her chest right there. I had a lot of fun with this part, and the more interesting the shading I can make it, the better, in my opinion. I had a lot of fun with this. I'm really proud of how the chest came out. I love it. 5 out of 5. And then we get a little bit simpler in the shading. I decided that her light source would be to her left, so for the shoulder, at least this one, I was trying to figure out how I really wanted the shading to go. I wasn't sure how much of the actual vest collar was going to cover this part, so I tried my best to, get something to work. And then the arm itself was really simple. Arm shading itself has always been really simple in my opinion. Just a little bit more shading on one side than the other to make sure the light source is still being maintained and kept in mind. And then when we get to the other shoulder, the one closest to the light source, I had a bit of trouble. I really wanted to make sure that the shading made sure it had some detail to it, while also when the lighting came in, it'd be a bit brighter than the rest of the body, of course, just to make sure the light source was being maintained as much as I could, because I sometimes forget that while I'm working. The tummy was going to be a lot of fun. I wanted to make sure that the pose was kept in mind for this part, so I decided to make her an actual inner tummy under her rib cage, have the most shading so that you get a better idea that she's leaning forward, so her body is being cast a shadow. I tried my best and I hope it worked out. Then we get a little bit simpler again. We go back to her arm. Really simple, nothing really to add here. Just real quick, this, that, shading, done. Light, there we go. Had a lot of fun with all the shading. I was really happy to get to this part because it just meant sooner the piece was going to be done and I was going to do my best for the entire piece. With the fingers, I took the time to collect them into two groups so that when I shaded, none of the shading of one side would be getting or bleeding into another finger, so that it was a little bit more interesting, less messy, more dynamic. I had a lot of fun with the fingers, and of course I had to go back in with the second color for Marina and recolor some of the layers so that her second color over her fingers was being kept in mind. And I tried once again to make sure the light source was prevalent by coloring the tips a little bit brighter than the rest. The eyes was going to be really fun, but a lot of trouble. I had been getting some comments before in previous artworks that my eyes were unintentionally intimidating because of the way I colored in my pupils. So for a while I've been trying to fix that. And then Marina has to come in with her misshapen pupils that are also pink against a teal eye. This is going to be a lot of hard work and trickiness to try to make sure it wasn't intimidating or oddly distracting and just more of alluring distracting, I just really tried my best to make sure all the parts of my art pieces are nice and attentive and pretty and not distracting in a negative sort of light or way. I tried really hard to make sure the lights in the eyes in general were as best as I could make them. I did a lot of coloring and subtle changes with all the layers, and I hoped that made them a bit better to look at. And the lips were a lot of fun to do. I was super happy with how the lips came out. They were so good. I was so happy. It didn't take a lot of tries at all. Just one quick try and then bam, she was done. 10 out of 10. Would kiss those lips if I could. They're just so good. Oh, I'm really proud. With the legs, I went a simple shading style. Legs, in my experience, don't really get that much shading in this kind of pose. I did give a little bit more shading to her right leg for the light source, but I did the best I could with those. I of course had to remember her little piercing. I wish I made that a little bit bigger so that it's a little bit more noticeable. With the shorts, it came to the part that I had to start reminding myself that this material was leather. I tried my best to keep that in mind. I didn't really do the shorts the best I could have. I was keeping more in mind the pose rather than the material the leather was. I forgot that it was a jutting out kind of material instead of clinging to her body like I shaded it. I hope with time I remember to keep those little details in mind. And then we get to the collar, which was a lot of fun to do. I kept in mind the lighting, so I made her neck cast a shadow on her collar that I think I did really well. For shading the leather, I had a bit of trouble when it came to making it seem like the texture was leather. In a lot of my pieces, I always shade the lighting. The leather would get casted in different ways depending on what the piece looked like at the time. With this, it was a bit trickier. I wasn't sure how to light the source for the texture. So instead of little small like light blotches and lines to try to get a leather kind of texture like that, I decided a big airbrush light source and brushed it away a little bit with the eraser. With the zipper, I decided to go a little bit more detailed, and I collected all the teeth and the rest of the leather and the rest of the zipper as their two different groups and shaded them accordingly, just like that. It came out a lot more interesting than just shading them all as one entity altogether, and I'm really proud of how that came out. The zipper itself was going to be really simple. It's just a solid little surface. Was really going to have a lot of trouble with that, of course. Just shade it accordingly to the light source and bam, it would be done. And then of course the headphones were simple as well. I wanted to get the details of the side of the headphone thing, the part where the light source of the green circle would be, but it wasn't really coming out really well in the piece, so I decided to cut that out. And then we finally get to the hair, the part that I was really excited to get my chance to give it my own life and try something different. A lot of art pieces of Marina textures the tentacles in different ways, different creative ways, mind you. I was really inspired by a lot of other fan arts of Marina to try to give her tentacle hair my own take. So with all that said, I was really looking forward to getting to this part. Of course, the underbelly and the suckers were going to be a smooth surface, not a lot of stuff going on with them, so I tried my best to make sure the shading on them was nice and interesting to look at. Of course, when I finally did place all of my 4 shade layers, I know it looks like a mess right now because of the way I like to shade in different colors before I put the actual colors for the tone. It's a bit messy, I know. After I finally got all these colors in, I decided to give the underbelly and suckers a little color revamp to make them a little bit more interesting than just a plain old white. I gave them a luminosity layer, even though I knew any shines on them would be really hard to notice. I just did it for consistency. And then we finally get to her actual tentacles. I had decided, as my way of texturing them, I would use the sparkle brush I often use in my eyes to give them a really cute, sparkly texture effect. I was really happy with how this was coming out. I had to redo this a few times because in previous attempts was pressing on the sparkle brush just like I would in my eyes, and it wasn't really coming out really well for the shading, so I had to press a little bit harder in future attempts, and it came out really good. I was super happy with how it came out, and of course I went back in with the highlight detail at the end of her tentacles to give it that nice green sparkly feeling. And for the shine, I decided to go really white luminosity. I did color it down to match the color of the part of the tentacle, and for final effect I added one more luminosity layer and I shaded a sparkle into the rest of the tentacle that wasn't previously shaded in any color before. And for the background, I decided to go simple. I took inspiration right from the official artwork for Marina and Pearl, but instead of a black and gray background, it was pink and pink. And with that, I add a little luminosity glow to the neon lights in her shorts. And finally, after all this time, I was able to say Marina was complete. I'm really happy with how she came out, and I hope you like her too. So with that, I'd like to take the time to thank my lovely Patreons! I recently opened up a Patreon, and my dream with it is to make content in the future that'll still make others happy and continue to make content like that for as long as I can. If you would be interested in helping me out, the link of that will be in the description. You can see all the goodies I give out to people that help, and it will be really appreciated. And with that, I'd like to show you all my new end card that I took some time away from Marina to design for you guys. So you have something a little bit more interesting to see at the end of my videos. I tried my hardest. I animated a little bit, like kind of a storybook kind of animation, and I'm really happy with how it came out. I think it's really cute, and I'm so proud of it, and I hope you guys like it too. You'll see more of it in the future. With that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. I love you all. I hope you have a wonderful, lovely day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!